Hey, student! This is another Meetup Wednesday. Wednesday, and in this live lesson, I'm going to talk to you about vocabulary expansion, how you can improve your English vocabulary so that you can better understand people in English. So stay with me because there will be a lot of practical tips, and at the end of the lesson, I will share the password so that you can download the slides that I prepared for tonight's lesson. If you don't know me very well, I am Teacher Prix, and I help English learners talk to anyone, anywhere, anytime in English. So thank you so much for joining me. Tonight, I'm just on YouTube. Guys, tonight in this Meetup Wednesday, we are going to talk about expansion. Growing vocabulary. Oh, I love this subject, I'm going to help you. There are 4 main things we're going to talk about tonight, okay? We are going to understand why your vocabulary is not improving, okay? Another thing we're going to do is, 4 practical tips to help you improve your English vocabulary. So tell me here in the chat if you're watching it live, do you want to improve your English vocabulary? Hashtag yes, hashtag no. So tell me here in the chat right now, okay? That way I know you guys are participating. Another thing we're going to do is 3. We are going to learn about the grouping strategy, word grouping strategy. So I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to give you some examples. And 4, I'm going to give you some tips about prefixes and suffixes, okay? So these are the 4 things we are going to work on tonight. And by the end of the lesson, I'll share with you the password so that you can open the PDF file that I'm going to be sending you by the end of the lesson. Now, guys, as usual, tell me who you are, where you're from, if you are a regular, BSA, or a newbie, because there's a difference, okay? If you are a newbie, hashtag newbie, it means you are here for the first time, maybe watching the replay. Newbies from the replay, tell me here in the chat if you are, in the comments, if you are a newbie. If you are a regular, watching the replay or watching now, tell me who you are. And if you are a BSA, well, hello, you are my student in my academy, so you are my BSA. So I love to know who you are. I know that there are many BSAs and many regulars and many newbies who watch the replay and always let me know. So it is wonderful to have you guys here in this Meetup Wednesday. During the Meetup Wednesdays, I always try to bring something different, and I always prepare a material for you to download, okay? I have other lessons here on my channel, but during the Meetup Wednesday, I always like to bring you something so that you can study at home. Now, guys, moving on. Teacher Prix. I don't know what's happening, girl, but my vocabulary is not improving. I study a lot. I study a lot of words, I have flashcards. Lots of flashcards, so many flashcards. Or maybe you're old-fashioned, you have Post-its. I have Post-its everywhere, Here, there, everywhere. Old MacDonald had a farm. Now, guys, here are some reasons. Do you need to improve your vocabulary? I saw that some people said, yes, teacher, I do. That is awesome. It's nice. Improving vocabulary is really important so that you can communicate more efficiently, and also so that you can understand people. There are 2 very important things here. Now, guys, the first thing you need to understand is not in your vocabulary difficulty, your vocabulary problem. This has nothing to do, this is not connected with your ability to learn. Students tend to jump to this conclusion. I study, I don't remember the words. Well, the only conclusion I can make is, I suck. There's a problem with my ability to learn. And let me tell you, if you keep thinking this way, that you have something with you that makes you, different, and for some reason you cannot learn, that will keep happening. And I've talked about this here on my channel. I'm a master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming. Why is this important? Well, with NLP, master linguistic, neuro-linguistic programming, I analyze brain and language, the things you do inside your mind. It's a different kind of analysis where I analyze behavior. So I use NLP strategies to help my students achieve results. And the more you say, oh, there's something wrong with me, the more that is going to happen. This is connected with a negative emotion. And negative emotions will stop you from getting to the next level. And no matter how hard you study, no matter how many vocabulary flashcards or apps or lists you have, you're going to get stuck in the same place because of your emotional response, okay? So the first thing you need to understand is this is not connected with your ability to learn, okay? We need to take a closer look at your strategy and your emotions, okay? Don't let your emotions win. Make sure to understand your emotions, but be in control. The second thing, this is not happening because the words are too difficult, okay? And here, oh, but teacher, phrasal verbs are so difficult. But who said you need to know all the phrasal verbs? You know, we tend to think, oh, but there's so many. Well, stop it. This is the next thing, actually. You don't need to focus on the many. You need to focus on particular things that I'm going to teach you in this lesson. But all of these ideas, they get you stuck. Because, oh, the words are too difficult. They're not too difficult. You're not teaching your brain the right way. So if you use the wrong strategy to learn a new word, to learn a new expression, you're not going to learn it. And then your conclusion will be, that is too difficult. Last week, I gave you some interesting lessons. I gave you vocabulary about relationship. I gave you vocabulary. I gave you phrasal verbs. And you guys created examples to me. And you did an amazing job. If you don't believe me, go back to those lessons from last week, watch the replay, check the chat, and you will see that you were using those words. So it's not about the words being too difficult. It's just that you are not using the right strategy to learn. So whenever you come across that word, you cannot use it, because the learning process was not appropriate. So it's not about the word being too difficult, okay? It's the process that is wrong. Another thing, there are too many words, teacher. Well, I agree with you. I don't have a dictionary with me. I only have virtual dictionaries. But if we have to compare, well, this is a dictionary, okay? Dictionary of common mistakes. I sometimes like to check them out, you know? Well, there are too many words here. I don't know all the words. And if we really buy a traditional dictionary, I think it's 3 times the size of this, okay? So I agree with you. There are too many words. But to be a fluent English speaker, you don't need to know all those words. You don't need to know too many words. You need to know the right ones. You need to know the right grammar structure to be able to communicate. It's not just about vocabulary. So we tend to feel, overwhelmed by the immense, the crazy number of words, when in reality, again, when we become too general, it gets difficult to learn, because that's when we have difficult emotions, okay? So that's why when you say too many, we begin to feel anxious, and anxiety will block your English. So Maria says value. Awesome, Maria. I'm happy you are learning something useful here. Guys, whenever you feel like I say something and you're like, yes, teacher, I agree with you, girl, and you liked the idea or the tip, hashtag value, because that means you are learning something useful, just like Maria did. That is wonderful. I'm happy to know that. And I see lots of students joining. Veronica's a regular, Giuliani BSA, Leah regular. That is so great to have so many students here participating. All right. Hobson, yesterday I struggled trying to read a New York Times article about Brazil. What exactly was the article about? Okay. And here I would go to a reading masterclass that I have here on my channel. You can check out how you would divide that article. Okay. Because we're talking about a New York Times article. It'll be a little bit more complex. So then I would chunk that, I would go to the introduction, then the second paragraph. I would slowly read that article, okay? So struggling it does not mean that you are not in the right direction. It just means that you will need to pay closer attention to each part of the paragraphs, take a closer look at the vocabulary, and then make sure to check other articles that have similar ideas, all right? Awesome, guys. And here, another point, this is not because you don't have enough time to study. So many students send me messages asking, teacher, I want to join your academy, but I don't know if I have enough time. Do I need to spend many hours studying to be able to join your program? Or here, particularly about the vocabulary, teacher, do I need to spend many hours a day studying vocabulary? No, you don't. And if you follow the strategies that I'm going to give you, the 4 practical tips that I'm going to share with you very soon, and I will give you examples, okay? I will give you some case studies of things that I saw in my BSA. You will see that you will be doing different activities and you will be working on vocabulary at the same time. Just as Robinson was working on a reading activity, working on a reading exercise, and then combining that with vocabulary practice, which would be a recommendation from me, okay? So you are reading something, then you can combine with a different activity. So the fact is, you don't need to spend a lot of time, but if you separate the English skills, just reading, just listening, just vocabulary, then your mind will immediately conclude, okay, so 1 hour for vocabulary, 1 hour studying reading, 1 hour listening, 1 hour writing. I don't have time. I don't have 4 hours a day. No, that's not how you do it. That's why some students think, I need to spend many hours. No, you don't. Okay, so that is a very important thing. I never sit down just to study one little part. I always combine with different things. I combine vocabulary and pronunciation. Okay, I explore vocabulary from a reading activity, from a listening activity. So it's about working smart. Now, guys, how do you actually improve your English vocabulary? First, I will introduce to you the 4 tips that I have prepared, and then I will go to each one, and I will give you some examples, and I will talk a little bit about them, okay? Now, tip number 1. You don't need to know all the words. Forget the number, focus on the outcome. The key word of the night is outcome. And I will talk a lot about outcome in the next slides, okay? What is outcome if you don't know what the word is? Outcome is result, okay? The final result. So the focus you need to have in mind is outcome, okay? That is your main focus. When studying vocabulary, when studying articles on the internet, when listening to things in English, your focus should always be on the outcome, not on the words, okay? And I will explain more about that. You never go straight to the words, you focus on the outcome. So what is the outcome? Okay, I wanna learn about this subject. I want to be able to talk about that subject. And I imagine that most of you are here because you want to speak and understand English, right? Do you want to speak and understand English? Yes or no? You don't want to speak English? You're just having fun, catching up? So I imagine this is your goal. So when you are studying, you need to think of some goals that are connected with the speaking and listening. So when you choose a subject to study, when you come up with your study plan, you need to focus on the outcome. Okay, what am I going to talk about today? What am I going to listen about today? And there will be supporting activities to help you get there, right? Now, the tip number 2, and I will get back to all these tips, so don't worry. Tip number 2 is a word grouping strategy, okay? Sometimes there are many ways to do this, and I will give you some examples of how to group the words. I have my favorite one, and I will share it with you. I have some lessons here on my channel for free where you get more explanations about them. That's where we're going to talk a little bit about prefixes and suffixes. But basically, when you are coming up with your short list, not long list, I don't like lists to be quite honest, but I imagine you like to organize yourself when you're studying during the day or during the week. So you can group the words according to a particular standard, okay? So for example, this week, I'm studying Italian this week. Well, every week I study Italian, but this week I'm studying about music, Italian music, but old Italian music, classical music, and singers, popular singers in history. So I am learning a specific vocabulary to talk about that, okay? So I am grouping the words according to the subject. This is actually what I do inside my academy. I do vocabulary grouping based on conversation subjects, things that students will talk about. Okay, so this is one example. I'll give you more. Now, tip number 3 is you're going to create opportunities to use that word. And here's the catch. If students think, okay, but I have to look at my flashcard every day or look at the word every day and read the word, and that's how I'll memorize the word. No, your goal should never be on memorizing the word. Your focus should always be on the outcome, on what you want to do. What do I want to do? And I will give you examples. Stay with me. Oh, I want to talk about Frida Kahlo, okay? I'm studying biographies, and I decided that I want to talk about Frida Kahlo. Frida Kahlo is I don't know much about her, to be honest, but she was a Mexican artist. And if I'm studying biographies about famous artists, I could perhaps talk about her. So here, in my study routine, how can I create opportunities to use the words that I'm learning as I am studying about Frida Kahlo, as I am studying about Italian music, as I am studying about political subjects, as I am studying about golf. Okay, I was talking to a student that talked to me about this. Oh, teacher, I was checking things about golfing because I really like to do that. I really like to play golf. And I was like, wow, that's cool. That's a good way to explore. But he's connected with that subject. I don't know anything about it. I know Jack. So if you're not interested in golfing, then don't do it. Okay. But ironically, this process, and I will talk a little bit more about that, the process of focusing on opportunities, on how you can use the word, that is how you're actually going to memorize the word. Because the brain doesn't see words, okay? The word, it doesn't see the letter P. Maybe in a drawing, okay? So let me do this here. I write the letter P, okay? I wrote the letter P and a hashtag. Then I can see this in my mind, okay? But usually when we think of words, the letters, they don't come like this, like texts, unless you are imagining pictures. We see images, okay? And when you focus on creating opportunities, creating experiences, maybe you know Frida Kahlo, maybe you don't, okay? But if you know Frida Kahlo, maybe you saw her in your head, okay? Maybe you thought about something connected with Frida Kahlo. So I see experiences are more easily remembered, okay? That way it's easier for you to memorize the words you used to describe a particular experience, a particular story of something that happened to you, okay? I think that you all have a nice story to tell, okay? Right, so Irina says, Frida Kahlo, born on July 6, 1907, and died on July 13th, 1954. She was a Mexican painter. Thank you so much, Irina. That is awesome. And I see more values here. Thank you very much, guys. Max, that is wonderful. I'm happy you guys are learning useful lessons. And stay until the end. I'll tell you the password to download the PDF file, and you'll be able to check all these slides that I prepared for tonight's lesson, because there's a lot of information today, okay? And tip number 4, the word is not too complicated, okay? We see a word, oh, it's such a long word. I was correcting a VSA today, and she used interchangeably. First, she used interchangeable, but then she corrected herself. And she said, teacher, I found what I wanted to use, interchangeably. And then she asked the question she wanted to ask. And I was like, wow, that's cool. She's using a word that maybe students will think it's complicated, but it's not. It's not about the word being complicated. It's just that you are not giving your brain a good example. Think about it. We always remember good stories, you know? I told you guys last week I was explaining to you breakup lines, relationship problems, and I gave you some funny examples. And then you guys in the comments were like, oh my goodness, teacher, that is so funny. You remember by experience, okay? So it's not about the word being complicated. It's about using giving a good story, giving a good meaning, a good explanation, a good example. So the best way for you to learn vocabulary is to learn by examples, by repeating that word and using different examples. You know, I think it was yesterday or Monday. It was Monday. I had an ocean line call with my BSA a few times. I think in alternate months. Yes, in alternate months, I have the ocean line call with my BSA. I send them my schedule, my calendar, and in case they can schedule a 10-minute call with me because they are my babies, my BSA. And then I was talking to one BSA, and we started talking about a very difficult subject. A really difficult subject, okay? But why did we start that conversation? He was interested. He liked that subject. So I asked the BSA some difficult questions. And then he was like, teacher, I thought we were going to talk about X and Y. You're asking me about this? This is too difficult. But then I asked the BSA, well, do you like this subject? And he said, yes. I asked again, are you interested in that subject? And he said, yes. And then I was like, okay, do you read about this subject in English or in your language? And then he said, in my language. Interesting. Do you watch documentaries, movies, interviews about this subject in English or in your language? And then he said, in my language. Bazinga. That's why he doesn't have vocabulary, because nothing he does is connected with that subject in English. So you see, the problem is, oh, I don't have the words. It's you don't have good examples. You don't have good stories. That's the thing. If you don't have good examples, if you don't have a good strategy, it doesn't matter, okay? You are not going to talk about that subject. So the problem with this BSA, and I told him, was like, okay, you never interacted with the subject in English. For me, it was a piece of cake to talk about it, because I watch a lot of documentaries. We were talking about Egyptian mythology, and I love Egyptian mythology. I love Egyptian history. I have watched so many documentaries, interviews, short videos, movies. I have books. I have Egyptian books. I'm such a nerd for Egyptian mythology that I bought an international version of the Book of the Dead, okay? That basically teaches all the transcriptions in hieroglyphies. I think I'm mispronouncing this word. I need to check. Of interpreting the Book of the Dead, you know? And I'm like, why? Why would I do this, you know? Because I'm interested. It's really something, hieroglyphs. Okay, hieroglyphs. It's really something that I enjoy, okay? So I could talk about it on and on and on and on, you know? Because I really did my homework. You learn by examples, okay? I could talk about Cleopatra. I could talk about the story of Osiris. You know, I could go on and on and on and on and on, because I really Googled this stuff. I'm really interested in this stuff. That's when I told him, okay, you're into mythology. That is awesome. But now you need to do some work in English. Slowly, taking your time, okay? Rome wasn't built in a day. Take it easy. But you need to include. Otherwise, you will always have problems talking about that subject. I had another BSA. When she joined the academy, she also had problems with vocabulary. And then during a conversation, during a call as well, I was talking to her, and then she said, well, teacher, there's something I really like doing, which is to write children's books, you know, in her language, not in English. And basically what I understood was she liked to use her imagination, okay, to use creative writing and create short little stories. So I told her, okay, you are going to group the vocabulary lessons from the academy in your writing, in your creative writing hobby. But now you're going to do that in English. And that way she began to use, using. It's not about memorizing. I'm not going to ask that BSA, hey, what is the meaning of this word? Okay, tell me now. No. She's going to use by creating her examples, by creating, using her own imagination, using the words she learned. And that way memorizing became easier. Not because she was focusing on memorizing, but because she was focusing on the right kind of routine. And that's basically what I'm trying to talk to you briefly here. It's not about memorizing. It's about using the right strategy to constantly see the words being used, but connecting with things that you are interested in. And I will talk a little bit more about the situations when it's not so interesting, because it can happen, okay? Now, guys, focusing a little bit on tip number 1 and tip number 2, okay? Diana, no Spanish, English, okay? I will remove the comment. You can ask in English. Just English, please. Denise says, it's unbelievable the amount of words I have learned studying the texts from the academy. And I did it just by being consistent. I didn't go crazy. So it's a BSA. She's a BSA that is telling, I learned a lot of new words from the materials in the academy, and she didn't go crazy studying words like crazy, because I don't like crazy. I may be a little crazy, but I don't do crazy stuff with my babies, you know? It's about the right strategy. It's about being subtle. You know, that's very, very important. And anyway, tip number 1 and tip number 4, let's focus on these tips, okay? Focus on the outcome and focus on learning by examples. These 2 tips are connected, okay? So your outcome should be connected with something you want to talk about, all right? So as I told you, my BSA wanted to talk about, well, he didn't want, I made him talk about it, okay? But he likes, that's the thing, he likes Egyptian mythology, okay? So here is the outcome. I want you to picture yourself, you know? Oh, this is me talking about geography and the different kinds of I don't know geography, that's a terrible example. And the different kinds of geography stuff, and I am the best geography person and whatever, yo. Imagine yourself. What would you feel awesome talking about? That's your outcome, okay? Because sometimes people just imagine speaking English, okay? All right, that is awesome. I know you want that. But during your routine, we need to be more specific, okay? So this week, in my case, I'm studying Italian. This week, my goal is to focus on learning about Italian music, okay? Classical music. I'm learning about specific singers. That's my goal. So this week I'm picturing myself. Today I listened O Sole Mio. Oh my God, it's such a beautiful song. You know? Oh Sole. And it's interesting. I need to tell you, is there any Italian here? When I first listened to O Sole Mio this week, I was like, fuck, my Italian is horrible. Because I listen and I'm like, I don't understand. It's weird. So I checked the lyrics in Italian and I was like, fuck, I don't know this. What's going on? Then I did some Googling and I was like, oh, it's a dialect. So when I was listening to the original song, O Sole Mio, it was a dialect from Florence. So it's a little different. So I found a website from a guy, an Italian guy, I don't know who it is, and he translated the lyrics to traditional Italian. Then I understood 100%. I was like, oh, okay. Now I get it, you know? So that is the thing. So what is my outcome this week? This week, if I sit down to talk to someone, I want to talk about amazing singers from Italy, you know, and beautiful songs that I enjoy. There was an opera singer. What's his name that I learned about this week? His name is Enrico Caruso. Okay, he was an opera singer. And I Googled about his life and I learned about him in Italian. So I could talk about him. I could talk about another singer. I forgot his name. Oh, he's very famous. Luciano Pavarotti. I think that's his name. So I'm involved in music and different subjects connected with music. Okay, so that's my goal this week. I don't want to think long term. This week, what do I want to do? Okay, so focus on the outcome. So here, speak clearly about my job. Okay, speak if you okay, but I have a project, I have a presentation this week. Okay, so this week I will focus on this project that is very important to me, and I will prepare myself to speak clearly about that presentation. That's great. And then the next thing, the tip number 4 is learn by examples. All right, so here you're going to find different inspiration sources, and I will give you some examples. And when you combine these 2 tips, the consequence is you are going to learn a ton of vocabulary, just like Denise did. She's in the academy. She follows this strategy because that's what I do with my babies. You are going to learn a ton of vocabulary connected with the subject without having to work really hard, without having to spend too many hours. You will need to dedicate yourself, okay? Come on, and that's not what I'm trying to say here. But it'll be a different kind of style of learning strategy that will make it easier for you. A few weeks ago, and I have been talking about that, the concept of the virtuous circle, you know? There is a virtuous circle of fluency that you need to follow. Simply focusing on vocabulary will not help you if you want to become a fluent English speaker who can understand and talk to anyone, anywhere, anytime. But teacher, can I be fluent? If you understand the concept of fluency, then you can be as fast as you want to, because fluency is communication, not perfection. And to be fluent, you don't need to be a walking dictionary, because I'm not. That's never going to happen, okay? You need to develop different kinds of abilities that will help you communicate. Not perfectly, because that's not what I promise here, but efficiently, okay? Now, guys, giving you a specific example of outcome and learn by example. Let's say that this week you are going to focus on talking about your best friend, okay? So if you were in a conversation and you would like to talk about your best friend, I've talked to BSA about this. We have a lesson in the academy about this. So here, what is to learn by example? Find inspiration. You have YouTube, you have podcasts. I'm not against podcasts. I'm against the wrong use of podcasts. You need to find short materials to explore because we're busy. If you focus on very long materials, you're not going to have time to do important activities. So for all these activities that I am suggesting, work smart. They don't need to be long materials. They need to be appropriate. They need to achieve a goal, okay? They need to talk about something, but they shouldn't be too long, okay? Now, let's say best friend. I went on Quora. I actually did the research before I had this class, okay? Because I was thinking, okay, I need to give a good example. So I went on Google and I typed about, talking about my best friend. Then I saw the Quora. I don't know if I am pronouncing the website correctly. I couldn't find the pronunciation, okay? So it's Quora or Quora or Quora. And it's a very popular website where people post questions. And here, there was an interesting question, which was, what's the story of how you met your best friend? Oh, that is perfect. There are 73 answers from different people from all over the world in English talking about how they met their best friend. So this was in text. The answers are not very long. They're good answers, but not too long, so objective. And then I went on YouTube and I found short videos, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a little long, but 10 minutes is still good, where people were talking about how they met their best friend. So here, learn by example. Okay, so get inspired, search materials, forums, discussions, videos where you will see the subject you want to talk about with confidence, okay? And hey, as usual, if you're enjoying the lesson, make sure to hit the like button. You know, as I always tell you guys, I like to follow the virtue of my motto, you know, which is to give, to help, to expand. If you don't know me very well, I strongly believe that the more we give to the world, the more we receive. Okay, so when I'm giving this lesson, when I am helping you guys with the ideas here from this lesson, I am expanding. But I'm not just expanding myself, I'm helping you expand yourself as well. So it's a very nice circle of virtue that we have here, a virtuous circle. So it would be amazing if you could share this lesson, hit the like button, you know. I would really appreciate if you could do that. If you are not subscribed to my channel, you know, make sure to do that. Very well. Okay. Robson says, I think that it's Now or Never by Elvis. It's a Sole Mio version. The rhythm is the same. I don't know. I haven't heard. Okay. Yeah, it's I don't know. But I heard it in Italian from this opera singer, from Enrico Caruso, and I fell in love with his voice. His voice is perfect. I found old recordings of him singing a long time ago, like many years ago, and it was just fantastic. You know, really, the guy is really, really good, and it's beautiful. Then I found some forums where Italian people were discussing the song, and I was reading some stories about the song and during some difficult times during the war. Good stuff. So you see, connect with the lesson. Go deeper, okay? It's not just about learning vocabulary. It's about achieving your dream, connecting with the language, okay? Now, guys, tip number 3. Forget memorizing. Focus on creating opportunities to use the words, okay? I never do with my BSA, hey, what's the meaning of leviosa? And they're like, teacher, the meaning of leviosa is the spell, the magic spell that makes things fluctuate. I don't know. So I don't ask them to tell me the meaning of stuff. People are not going to do that to you on the street, okay? I ask them questions using different words to see if they understand. That's the catch. I focus on the outcome. I focus on talking, okay? All my program is focusing on talking. So when I ask them, hey, answer this, talk to me about this. This week I was talking to some students and they were talking about downers and tank people. Drama queens. So we were talking about that. I didn't need to know, do you know the word downer? Do you know the word tank? No, I asked them a question. So what do you do with tank people? Oh, teacher, tank people are difficult because they're blah, blah, blah. They're blah, blah, blah. And that's what I do with tank people. That's awesome. Oh, what do you do with the downer? Teacher, it's so difficult to deal with the downer. They're so negative. Nothing is good enough. So you see, I didn't ask, tell me the meaning. I asked a real life question, a real life conversation question, okay? So always revolve around something you want to talk about and use the new word you're studying, okay? So here, going back to the friendship example that I gave you in two slides ago. When you do your research for inspiration, let's say you found the Quora website with the question, my best friend, how I met my best friend. When you read, there will be a lot of new words, okay? And here, guys, no, it's not there yet. And here, guys, there will be the time for you to sit down and find the meaning of the word, okay? I'm not teachers, no. You will have to sit down, understand the meaning of the word. But here there's the preparation. You are reading about the answers from different people. Then you check the meaning of the words. But then when it's time for you to use, your study doesn't stop there. That's what I'm trying to say. In many cases, the routine stops there. Okay, I read it. I learned some new words. Awesome. No, now you have to start work. Now you have to use. And the best way to do it is to follow the subject. Okay, so how can I talk about my best friend? Okay, that is very, very important. So yes, forget memorizing. Quora is a website, okay, Carla? If you type, I think it's Quora.com. It's basically a discussion website, people post all kinds of questions there, all kinds of questions, okay? And it's a nice way for you to learn new subjects and learn new vocabulary, okay? Very nice. So if you just type Quora on Google, you will find it. It's impossible to find it, okay? I don't know any website that does this differently. Now, guys, but Priscilla, you don't know my problem because it's too difficult to remember the words, Teacher Prix. Guys, you are going this in the wrong direction. The problem is not for remembering the words. The problem is in the outcome and the preparation that you give to be able to have the outcome, to have the result you want. What exactly are you going to talk about? That's why we study. That's why we practice. So during your study routine, what exactly are you going to talk about? Because the truth is, the more disconnected, okay, the more disconnected that vocabulary is from something real, something interesting, something motivating, fun, curious, or exciting for you, the more difficult it'll be. So that's the catch, okay? So the more disconnected those words you have in your notebook, the more disconnected they are from interesting subjects, things you actually want to talk about, and the less you will remember them, okay? The more difficult it'll be to memorize them, and to memorize them, as I said, to use them, okay? And another point, if you don't have a good review process, this is something I always tell my babies. Reviewing is key. You need to have time and dedicated to reviewing. Don't go too fast. It's about having a good experience, okay? But then you may ask, but teacher, fun, but not everything is fun and exciting and awesome. I agree 150%. We don't always learn what is fun. Sometimes we have to focus on what is useful, okay? Let's see one example of this. I was talking to a BSA, and this BSA, she lives in a house, and in her house there's a yard, and based on her explanation, her yard is very large, and there are many different kinds of plantations, some animals, and then she had trouble explaining that to me. She didn't remember some words. That's when I told her, this is not a fun subject, but it's useful. So you need to establish a practice moment to describe these things in your house, because she lives in the countryside, and she had some different animals in her house, some different things. There are some vegetables that she eats. I don't eat, for example. I didn't even know how to say it, actually. I had to Google some vegetables because I know some vegetables, the ones I eat, the ones I like, and some that I don't like. You know, you have to know some. So I told her, well, this is not fun vocabulary, but this is useful. So you need to include some useful subjects for you, okay? Not everything is like roses and rainbows, all right? Let's say going to the hospital. Going to the hospital is not fun, not exciting, not interesting. Unless you're a doctor performing a surgery, then it may be cool. But if you're sick and you need to go to the hospital, then you need to know how to talk about that, okay? But teacher, but if it's an emergency, okay, if it's an emergency, it's an emergency. But if you have a condition, let's say you hurt yourself and you go to the hospital. Do you have any condition, any pre-existing condition that the doctor needs to know? Do you have any allergy? Do you have any health problem? These are things you need to know how to talk about. I have some health conditions that I know immediately how to say, because I know that if I go to a hospital in the United States, in Canada, which happened to me, I know how to answer those particular questions. I don't even need to answer the questions. I can immediately say, I have severe asthma, I'm allergic to this, and that. And they're like, oh, fine, good to know, okay? So it's not fun, but it's useful. Can this happen to you? We never know, okay? When I lived in Boston, I had a severe allergy reaction to the pollen of trees. Okay, I didn't know I had this allergy before, but I discovered while I was living in Boston, and it was awful. One day I wake up and I couldn't open my eyes. For a moment I thought, wow, I'm in heaven. I died. Now my eyes are stuck. So I went to the doctor and he explained to me. I never forgot it again. Did I have this again? Unfortunately, yes. Every beginning of spring and fall, I have this not every, but most of them, I have this allergic reaction. So here, have you taken the time to work on this? Because it's important. Not fun, but important. The main point that I want to get your attention to is that to become an awesome, confident English speaker who can talk to anyone, anywhere, anytime in English, you don't need to be a walking dictionary. A speaker who feels good about himself, feels good about his vocabulary, her vocabulary, is someone who understands how to use what they have. Because in a perfect world, we would know everything. We would know amazing words. And I met a guy, we studied together during a course, and he happened to have a lot of vocabulary, more than me, I must admit, but he didn't have these speaking skills that I did. And then he looked at me and he said, wow, I would switch. I would give you all the words I know, and you would give me your fluency. And I was like, you can be that, you just need to change your strategies. And he was like, wow, and then we worked for some time together. But what I was trying to say is, you don't need all the words, okay? During my group conversation classes with my BSA, sometimes they are trying to say something and they start thinking. I'm like, work around, find a solution. That's what makes you an English speaker. Your ability to keep on moving. Oh, I don't know how to say that. Well, keep on moving. Can you explain? Can you say something else? And then when they finish, then I tell them what they needed. I usually get immediately what they wanted to say, but I give them time to practice. Like, oh, I need to find a workaround. This is the key to vocabulary expansion. Working on different outcomes, okay, different things that you want to talk about, and prepare yourself for real life conversations. Prepare for the fact that you are going to explain a lot instead of simply knowing exact words, okay? Oh my goodness, we're almost 1 hour here and I haven't finished. There's a lot of information today, my goodness. All right. Okay, let's keep moving. Tip number 2, word grouping, okay? As I said before, of course that you need to sit down, check the meaning of the words, check the pronunciation of the words, so that you can understand the materials you read, the materials you watch. This is going to happen, okay? This is the hard work that you need to do, okay? But here is where you are going to apply when you're doing this work, this exercise, okay? And this should not be the only thing you do. This should be you focusing on the subject you want to talk about. So let's say you're reading a Quora forum discussion about the story of how people met their best friend. So here you're going to begin grouping words together, and there are many different ways to do that. You can group words by the subject, okay? The weather, food, sports. That's a way. You can do that by conversation subjects. That's how I do in my academy. How I met my best friend. Should we gossip? Should we gossip? Yesterday. I was talking to BSA and I was like, hey, do you gossip? And everybody's like, no, I don't. Let's see. Conversation subjects. How I met my best friend. That's a conversation subject. Tomorrow we're going to talk about how to talk on the phone. That's a conversation subject, okay? The type of word, nouns, verbs, adjectives. And then you can combine all nouns to talk about the weather, nouns to talk about food, verbs to talk about health conditions, okay? So you can group the type of word and do another kind of grouping with the subject, okay? And then you can do that plus a conversation subject. If we're talking on the phone, okay, one grouping, conversation on the phone, and then type of word, verbs that we use when we're talking on the phone, situations on the phone. Okay, so this is a good way for you to group vocabulary. I also have a masterclass here on my channel talking about the next two strategies, synonyms and opposites, antonyms. I love this. You learn a word, you have one word, you can learn a synonym and you can learn an opposite. So in one word, you triple the number of words you know, okay? One word, you learn by learning the synonym and then by learning the opposite. So 3 in 1. How cool is that? And then we have by prefixes and suffixes, okay? I'm not going to get into all the grammar details of explaining prefixes and suffixes, okay? Here, I'm just giving you an example. If you want a lesson just to talk about prefixes and suffixes, you're gonna leave here in the comments, not now, in the replay, okay? In the comments, yes, I want a lesson on prefixes and suffixes. Let's see if you're paying attention. But here we'll give you an example. So let's say you are going to focus on understanding words based on their prefixes and suffixes, because this will help you with your comprehension, okay, a lot. It'll help you a lot. There are many prefixes, there are many suffixes, okay? One very basic explanation of prefix is that it's basically the beginning of a word, maybe the first 2 letters or the first 3 letters, that's a prefix, okay? You have the root word and you have the prefix that comes before, pre, okay? It comes before. And there are many kinds of prefixes, but one popular one is un, un. And this prefix usually gives a negative idea to the word it's complementing. And we have more, okay? But for example, kind. Kind is good, a nice person, nice, okay? But if you see unkind, you can immediately understand that it's something negative, something bad, okay? So unkind is not nice, not good. And we have more negative prefixes. In, un, non, non, de. It's hard to pronounce them individually. Dis, atypical. Typical, the normal, the usual. Atypical, not usual, not the usual thing. Anti, anti. Im, ill, il, and ir. When you see these prefixes in words, you can immediately associate it something negative, okay? Not very positive, okay? For example, respectful, disrespectful, obedient. I follow the rules, teacher. Disobedient. I don't follow the rules, teacher. Agree. I have the same opinion, teacher. Disagree. I don't have the same opinion. I disagree. I like chocolate. I don't agree. I disagree. You don't like chocolate. Reliable. You can trust. Unreliable. You can't trust. Okay? So these would be some good ways for you to learn prefixes. You know, it's a way to group words. And when you're studying, you can begin to identify. These are some possible prefixes. There are more, okay? This is just a quick hangout to show you some. And look, it's almost 1 hour, and I could talk about this. Guys, I could give you a month of lessons just talking about this. With the suffix is the same thing, okay? But at the end of the word, all right? I could get more technical, but that's not the goal of the lesson. The goal of the lesson is not to give you a grammar explanation. The goal is to give you ideas to help you identify words more easily. But as I said, you will need to take some time to study more about suffixes and prefixes and understand them, okay? But I'm giving you directions. Now you have to keep following them on your own, okay? So ship is a suffix. Ness, kindness, usefulness. So when you see, these are now suffixes. So when you see this, you already know what type of word. Remember that one of the ideas that I gave you was to group the words by type. nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs. And this is a common problem students have. They don't know the word. I think this is the first lesson that I give my BSA. When they join the academy, I'm like, come on, let's understand what a noun is, what a verb is, what an adverb is, what an adjective is. And then they begin to have more contact with different vocabulary. So this would be a good way for you to go around, okay? Now, guys, as I said, you are going to be able to download the slides from this lesson, okay? I prepared the slides for tonight's lesson. Let me just confirm the password. I don't remember. Do you want to receive the PDF file? Yes or no? No? No one wants to receive it? Must it be love? But it's over now. If you want to receive the PDF, tell me #yes, you know. Let's see, because I don't know if I remember the password. Jesus Christ. Hashtag. No, it's... Oh, okay. So if you want, I will give you the password. Let's see if you answer, if you want the material. I see people want it. It's in my Telegram group. You know, this morning I sent a very nice tip to not to my BSA, but to the people in the Telegram. So you have to go there, okay? So the password is, let me check again because I think I messed it up. Okay, so the password is outcome4. Okay, that is it. Outcome4, number 4, outcome4. That is the password for tonight's PDF file. You're gonna get all the useful slides from tonight's lesson. And as usual, if you enjoyed, if you found value in this lesson, take a screenshot, tag me. To tag, you need to write my name with the @ symbol at teacherprix.com in your stories on Instagram, okay? So it's so wonderful that you guys got to participate. Thank you so much. Share this lesson, hit the like button, and I'll see you tomorrow so that we can talk on the phone. You're gonna learn useful stuff. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye, guys.